Heyo, welcome to episode 041 of the Starting with a Story podcast, where this season I interview people about fear, except for this episode. Today marks the end, the finale of season 4. And rather than bringing you another amazing, awesome guest, I really wanted to take this time to wrap up everything that we've accomplished in season 4. Every minute that I get to work on this podcast, it just reminds me of how blessed and lucky I am to have this opportunity to just listen to people and hear their stories. Not only that, just share it with such a loving, supportive, and wonderful community, which is you guys. Now, as you guys know, the theme for this season was all about fear. And the conversations that I got to have with these wonderful guests was so eye-opening. Every guest was so different, but also similar. And each one of them were able to bring a unique perspective to fear, how they faced it, how they overcame it, and just how they're working through their own fears. Now, for me personally, these past few months have brought about a lot of change in my life. A lot of new different things are happening, and inevitably it brought upon fear as well. For one, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to perform well in my new engineering role at my company. This year I decided that I wanted to study for the GMAT and try to go back to school, which, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely excited for, but I'm definitely afraid of potentially failing. And last of all, like maybe you and many others at my age, I'm 24 now, I'm still just trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. Now for me, people are always asking about the podcast, about how I personally am overcoming fear, and basically just what is my favorite part about this entire process. And I can truthfully say that it's been just this, being able to have this unique opportunity, this wonderful experience to just connect with people from all over and just listen to them, hear their stories, learn from it, use it in my own journey, and most of all, just being able to share it with all of you guys. Honestly, sharing these stories and being able to potentially help someone else has been by far the greatest part about this entire process. And it's really opened my eyes to realize that we're all just trying to figure out life. The great equalizer that I've come to realize throughout this season of the podcast is that no matter who you are, where you're from, what your background is, what your history, what you do, it's that we all have a fear. We're all on our own unique journey, and we are all not alone. And I want you to know that you aren't alone either. So as we recap and wrap up this season and all of the lessons that we've learned from fear, I just want to take a quick moment to look back and show you guys a few of my favorite moments from this season from these wonderful, wonderful individuals that I had the absolute blessing to sit down and talk with. I hope you enjoy.
One of my favorite phrases is go through the suck. And I know it's not something that one, it sounds kind of weird. So sorry to anybody, but two, it's like, you're not going to slap that on a t-shirt, like go suck at something.
Yeah.
But it's like, someone's like, well, how'd you get good at that? It's like, well, go be bad at it.
Yeah.
And that's why one of the things that when I started to figure out what I wanted to do with my life was what are the things that I love enough to be bad at it? And because the thing is, you're not going to be, at least from my perspective, there's no one that's ever been successful at something that hasn't failed a million times before they've been successful. And so it's what's the thing that you love enough to do that much?
When you come from an abusive background and whatever it might be, it's very easy to blame the world or my father or our situation for the negative things that happen to you in your life. But blame gets you nowhere, and it takes power away from you. You want to gain power, you want to gain control in your life. And where does it all change? It changes in here.
It's the same thing I would tell any person for any advice. It's just acknowledge that you don't know everything. And that's okay. It's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to learn more.
So I feel like a lot of times when you feel scared or terrified that things are not going to work out, you also have to think positively. Because in those moments, whenever I imagined that things are going to work out, something happened.
For me, a lot of the fears that I've overcome at this point has just been really facing them head on. So it's about preparation, being proactive in waking up every day and investing in my mind in a way that that like I know I'm possibly going to face this today, so here's what I can do to up my game personally, so when I do face it, I don't get anxiety, so I can knock the anxiety out the park right away.
That was kind of like my breakthrough. And I think that's one of the most important things that I've ever experienced was being able to, you know, take my biggest weakness and develop a learning process around it. Because once you develop that process, you can apply it to everything that's now unknown.
But I think the best thing that somebody could do really is to start making friends with your demons. And I know that kind of makes
I like that.
that doesn't make that much sense, but I was thinking about the analogy before. You know, we all talk about saying, like, we all have our own cross to bear, and we all have a cross that we have to carry through our lives. You know, the cross that I have to bear is my anxiety. And, you know, you can, for the longest time, like, you can leave that cross on the side of the road. You can just try to walk without it. But eventually, like, you're going to have to pick it up. And if you just ignore it this whole time, then that weight of your cross is just going to crush you. But if you take that cross, you know, you take a little walk with the cross, you hold that burden, and eventually you develop that relationship. It's like working out, you know? It's like working out. Like carrying a cross around, like the more you do it and the more frequently you do it, the easier that cross becomes, the lighter that cross becomes, the further you can carry it. And it's like the same thing with your anxiety or whatever, anyone's going to struggle with it. The more you face it and the more you deal with it, the easier it gets, because then your mind, like much like muscles, when you're building muscles, you're like building up your mind to cope with it.
One of the things recently that I've really tapped into is allowing myself to fill my own cup. I
like that.
As far as instructors go, I mean, we were like, here you go, like, you know, here's my whole life, you know. Like,
Yeah, it's just like all giving and giving.
Yeah, and we sometimes will allow the classes to just suck the life out of us. I mean, it's natural. So it's so important, I think, to have time to fill your cup, whatever it may be. Journaling to, you know, just doing your own yoga practice or just meditating. Like, there's so many things now.
I was like, you know, we only live life once, so let's just get this thing going. And for me, it was really just, you know, allowing that fear to get me out here, and that's kind of been my guidance for the past couple of years. Is whenever I fear something, that's kind of a trigger for me to just go after, because on the other side, I truly believe on the other side of fear, there's tremendous amount of growth. And I've already recognized that coming out here, that there wasn't really anything to fear. It's just kind of a mental game.
The wisdom, honesty, and just genuine passion from all of my guests this season just really helped me, and they really struck a chord with me, because it just serves as a reminder for me that there is no right way to face your fears. There's no right path or correct path to overcome your fear. Each and every one of us is going through something slightly different than someone else. And regardless of how you look at it, each and every one of us is different, unique, and beautiful in our own way. The bottom line is, what might work for someone else and how they overcome fear might not necessarily work for you. But that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and you need to know that. Your journey is your journey. So yes, you can use someone else's journey and someone else's story to help you formulate your own, but at the end of the day, it's you. This is who you are. This is what you're going through. So you really do have to put in the time and figure out what works best for you. We live, we make mistakes, we possibly stumble, we succeed, but most importantly, we learn. So for my final challenge of season 4, I want to leave you with this. I challenge you all to spend some good quality time with yourself. Learn to just love yourself and all your flaws. Learn to look in the mirror and laugh. And most of all, learn to smile in the face of fear. Find out what works for you in order to grow your own story. But never, ever forget to share it, because you never know whose heart you'll be able to touch with your beautiful story. From the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity that you guys have all been able to give me and for sharing in this journey. This is John Lee on Starting with a Story signing off. Stay safe, stay you.